This is a presentation of the United States Australian Football League, the USAFL.
Okay, fullback. Okay. Alex C, back pocket. Okay.
Hey, boys. All right. Use your voice all day. Use your voice, okay? Swannaroos on three. 1, 2, 3. Swannaroos. Let's go, boys. 1, 2, 3, 3.
Strong in that quarter was fantastic.
Teams from across the country, we have narrowed it down to the two in Women's Division I. It's the 7-time defending champion Golden Gate Iron Maidens against the upstarts, the Minnesota Freeze. This is the third consecutive time that the Women's Division I Grand Final has been contested by the two sides. Golden Gate won convincingly in 2022. They won a squeaker last year with a kick on the last kick of the game a season ago. And despite the fact that Minnesota has won 3 of the last 4 meetings between the two sides, including twice this season, it should be a great game and really could be anybody's to decide. It's the Division I Women's Grand Final between the Golden Gate Iron Maidens and the Minnesota Freeze. Good day, everyone. I'm Brian Barish. Great to have you along for what should be a great game, perhaps a history-making game on one side, as the Maidens looking for their 8th in a row and their 8th overall against the Minnesota Freeze, who have really huffed and puffed but could not blow the house down. We'll see if they can today. Joining me in the commentary position is Pat Machado. And Pat, you and I have watched a lot of finals, especially today. We saw a really good one just now, but you know, I mentioned all this history. The same thing happened last year. The Minnesota Freeze won in the round-robin phase, and they won pretty convincingly, going away by about 4 goals. Golden Gate pipped them back in the grand final. The same thing happened yesterday. Minnesota won by 13 points, 21-8 in the round-robin phase. Here we are again. The only difference is that Golden Gate is coming in off of a 1-2 weekend, having only defeated Seattle and having lost to Minnesota and Denver. So there's a lot of intrigue, and part of me says that's all in good, but you can kind of throw that out the window for the next 40 minutes.
Yeah, great to be here. Thank you for having me, Brian. And this matchup that I saw last year, there's a lot of history behind it, and you can just tell from the way that game unfolded, right? And this is exactly what you want. You want the best 2 teams in your grand final, and oftentimes that will carry over from year to year, and there's a reason that whenever someone sees a matchup like Collingwood v. Carleton or New York versus Philadelphia, everyone gets excited regardless of the circumstance, regardless of the stage. We're just lucky enough to see it on the grandest stage at the highest stakes. I'm really looking forward to this matchup.
Me too, and you know what? Just like a pack of cows in a cannabis patch, the stakes are in fact high. Looking at some of these players here, you know, we talked about the Transatlantic Cup, and Minnesota had 9 players representing their ranks on this team. You take a look at some of them who have been around a while, players like Catherine Georgiadis, looking at Kathy Hoa, and then you look at Paige Kicker as another one, but then some of the newer players like Olaf, and you look at Liz Ed, who is coming off of a broken arm that she suffered in the Transatlantic Cup. And then as well, you got Kaya Sagula, Lindsay Beck, and then you've got Connor Lewis, who is really the leader and really the talus woman of this competition. For the Iron Maidens, however, they've had a number of players who over the last couple who are not here playing. We have a couple we mentioned, Elise Leone, who is expecting, as is Jess Estrada Finley. Jess Blecker is not here this weekend. and is not here this weekend, but some of the players that are, players like Sarah Maguillon, players like Nicole Fury, who has played with the Freedom this year, players like Leo Gaillard, who played for the national team up in Canada. Alvy Doherty is really good. Leilani Cordoba is good. There is a lot of firepower on this field. The question will be whether or not over the course of 4 quarters in this 4th game for both teams, who will get the better option. Now in the middle of the ground now we have the coin toss with the Australian consulate for Australia out of Houston. They are one of our many sponsors here, and of course they have been incredibly supportive of the work that's being done here in the USAFL, and they've been handing out, I'm sure you've seen the G'day Y'all hats and stuff like that. Really great to have sponsors like that a part of this competition.
And it's a hell of a combination of 2 of the most unique greetings.
Yeah, it really is. It's fantastic. So the coin toss is here, and I'm curious, if you're one of these coaches, if you're one of the captains, who would you go out? What side would you kick to? Or would you want the wind in the first half or the second half?
I think it was Rob that was talking to me earlier that he had this conversation with you, because this kind of draws parallels to cricket. Do you want to bat first or do you want to chase? Now, granted, the wind is a lot less of a factor now than it has been in some of the earlier games, but it's undeniable that it is a factor. So it is an interesting choice. A lot of people say that you want to bat first, you don't want to chase, because you now at least know what you're up against. But that mindset can go either way. It really depends on how your players think. And for the repeat players on this side, particularly for Minnesota, it's can you overcome those losses, especially the heartbreakers on the last kick of the game. I think that's more of a mental factor than it is where you're kicking to.
And once again, that's Gabrielle Hall, who is the Australian consulate to Australia from Houston. Did I get it right? The Consulate General, beauty. Thanks, Gabby, and you don't have to reply, but thank you so much for all you've done and everybody else here at the consulate. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Both of the teams we'll find out what the results of the coin toss are in just a moment, but you could hear the Freezes cheer is that they feel a freeze in the atmosphere, and the question is, here with the game time temperature of 96 degrees, is that the case? Here we go, Women's Division 1. It'll be either Minnesota or Golden Gate, and we are underway here in the Women's D1 Grand Final for 2024, and right off the bat, it'll be a secondary ball up. A quick look at our umpires here. Lori Roop and Vicky Schonegel are the field umpires, and in the goals are Tara Miller and Andrew Muller. We're underway here as the ball is stuck somewhere in the middle. Both of these teams, as the Freeze, are going towards the right of screen. They are kicking with the wind here in the first half. They are in the blue and the silver jumpers, kicking towards the Onion Creek side. Picked up by Corey Daling. Handballs it in. Little stabby kick forward. It'll roll, it'll skip, it'll hop, and it will go through. Gonna pick that one up. Here is Lindsay Beck with a shot for goal. Did it sneak inside? No, it just went to the left. And there is the first score of the game after about a minute of play. On the Watch AFL scoreboard, Minnesota Freeze 1, Golden Gate no score, about 30 seconds in, Women's Division 1.
Just rush that kick a little bit and pulls it wide. But Minnesota strike first. Kick-ins have been a problem for a lot of sides all day, especially on that side. But these are 2 very quality sides. They'll play up the far wing now. Off hands, spills out to number 44, Sarah Maguillon.
And Mags, I'm sorry, Pat, I was going to say Mags is a veteran of this team, played on the Freedom back in 2017, has been several years, and she actually lives in the Chattanooga area. And, of course, shout out to the Rome Redbacks, who she trains with during the course of the season, and of course plays during the regular season for the Iron Maidens. We have a boundary throw-in. It will occur about 60 meters around. 1-0 Minnesota just underway. Here is Connor Lewis. Go Kojo. Has a bounce, has a look, has a kick inside 50. It's going to skip across the face. It will go out of bounds, however, for a boundary throw-in. Not the worst result so far, and the Freeze will have an opportunity about 40 meters around.
We've been seeing teams play the territory game all day as it's flung back into play. Skips out the backside. Ball in dispute on the ground. Picked up by Minnesota. Tackled immediately to the ground. Umpire will call for it. And she'll ball it up 40 meters out of the Minnesota attacking goal. Toss back up into play. Taken out of the ruck on the full. Set to the far side, half forward, picked up by Golden Gate. They'll look to escape. Lost the ball in the tackle. Picking it up is Kringle. Spun back inside 50. Can't pick it up off the ground. Squirts loose to Golden Gate. Kick went off a player in front. Kringle tries to wheel around and get a shot on goal. Handball's back outside. Edge of the 50. Amanda Dvorak. Handball back. Spun back into the blender, unable to take the mark. 3 bites at the cherry, couldn't come down with it.
And cleared out on the far side now by Alvy Doherty. Here come the Maidens back the other direction. Their defense, Pat, is going to be probably the most important part, especially against the wind as it comes out of the pack. A shot for goal. And it is 2 pies, please. And there's the first major score of the game. It goes to the Minnesota Freeze on the Watch AFL scoreboard after approximately 4 minutes, unofficially, of course. It is 1-1-7 Minnesota, no score Golden Gate. And there we talk about it. The broken plays for Minnesota, Pat, they are really good at picking the ball up and snapping the goal.
So that territory gamble plays off.
Absolutely. And one of the things we saw in the game in the first match yesterday is that they are very keen on pushing the ball on pushing their players forward. The problem is if you get hit in transition, that's a problem.
So here's Golden Gate looking to respond on the edge of their attacking 50. Ball kicked to the top of the square. Everyone's chasing after it. Kept in play. And eventually does find the boundary line. So boundary throw deep inside the attacking 50 for Golden Gate. Down 7 very early in this contest.
And it'll be up to Lauren Ewell, Belle Ugalde, and everybody else on the defense to try and batten down the hatches and for the attack. The ball comes spinning back into play. Knocked down by Lauren Beck. Going to find Kaya Saigula, who wheels around on a dime and sends this one down the ground. Here comes Lindsay Beck trying to go through. She's watched by Lauren Dawes. Ball gets kicked away up on the far side where the mark is taken, yes, by Carol Sequeira. Sequeira has the football in the outer wing position in front of the Cooper's tent side of the ground. Drops it in front of Gaillard. Gaillard turns around, but the ball went out of bounds first, and it will be a boundary throw-in. 7-0 Minnesota. They have been around since 2010. They up until 2021, they had never been, up until 2 years ago rather, they had never been any better than third. They were either third or fourth in Division I. They finally made the breakthrough. They lost 40-7 in 2022. They lost 14-8 a season ago. Jess Estrada Finley kicking a goal with the last kick of the ball. Panda Win with the pickup after the foot off almost on the full. Cleared out there by Sequeira. Hugs the boundary line and a nice mark taken by Karina Boyle as they continue up the far side.
So the attack continues for Golden Gate. One more kick to the edge of 50. Instead, they'll do a short option, back in board, mark taken, and she'll show it off to say, look what I found. Directs traffic, goes short along the boundary line. Marked by Karina Boyle.
Yep.
Now she'll look to serve inside 50. Now they'll continue these short kicks down the line. This one will go across for a boundary throw. So inching ever so closer to forward 50, our Golden Gate down 7.
It's actually going to be a free kick, Pat, as umpire Steve Arnott spots the ball, and back they'll come up on the far side. If you remember the grand final a season ago, remember actually both games a season ago, Minnesota Golden Gate had the lead at halftime both times, and Minnesota in the first game came from behind with the wind to move ahead. And in the second game, it was very close. So the ball was kicked up on the far side. Ball gets dropped, sent back from whence it came by Saigula. Stopped there by Georgiadis, who bowled over Pandalwin to try to get to the footy. Ball pops up high in the air. Going after it is Gaillard. Ball goes to ground. Picking that one up, and big swing and a miss there by Lauren Beck. Throw a blanket over a half dozen players. Finally extracted by Georgiadis. Big takedown with a half Nelson. And umpire Vicky Schoenagel crosses her arms and says, let's have a ball up in front of the Cooper's Beer Tent, which is growing in attendance with each passing minute. On the Watch AFL scoreboard, 7-0 Minnesota Women's Division I Grand Final.
Free kick given to the Minnesota Freeze as they start back the other way. Long kick along the boundary line. Finds the player out front. Now here's a short option. Finds a player on the run. That was Catherine Hoa, who marks just outside 50. Takes a run back. Slow stabbing kick inside 50. Finds a player in Lindsay Beck. And she'll look like she'll go back to have a shot on goal. So Lindsay Beck with a chance to make it 2 majors for Minnesota. Kick is on the way. It's straight. It bounces, and it's touched just before it makes it through. And it's through for a minor score. So Minnesota now out to 1-2-8. Golden Gate yet to score. 8.5 minutes into this first half of play in the Women's Division I Grand Final.
Our clock, of course, is unofficial, so follow it at your own peril. Up the far side. Got a text message from Kat Hogg, who reminded me that the Freeze combined with the Milwaukee Bombers in 2009, this would be their first outright victory. But the Bombers, of course, winning in 2009 after the Calgary Kookaburras won in 2008 after Atlanta won 3 in a row from 05 to 07. Ball is up on the far side. Of course, Denver won 6 in a row after that. And then the current streak by the Maidens, which currently stands at 7. But still plenty of time to go as the Rucks nominate as the ball goes up on the far side now. Ball comes down, picked up by Gaillard. Couldn't get a clean handball off, decided to go the aerial route and does. Bops over the head of Ugalde. Big tackle thrown in there by Georgiadis on the 43, which is unlisted there for Golden Gate. Minnesota wanted a free kick. They ain't going to get it. The ball's up on the far side now, sending that one free. The ball goes up high. Big crash boom opera as kicker was in there, and we'll keep an eye on the Iron Maiden who got the worst of that one as the ball goes on the other side. Keep an eye on that, Pat. Meanwhile, the Maidens are pushing in for their first score, and they're going to get it as the ball went all the way down the ground, and there's the first sausage roll for the Maidens. Just about halfway through this first half, they finally got one. Minnesota 1-2-8, Golden Gate 1 straight 6. We're just trying to see who that was. Didn't get who it was, but we do see the substitution occurring. But that was vicious. That was, well, not vicious, but that was a really, really tough tackle in the middle of the tough hit in the middle of the ground.
And these ladies are laying it all on the line. And everything is to play for here. So you have to expect that players are going to crash in and crash hard. It's unfortunate when stuff like that happens. So hope she ends up being okay as Minnesota turns the play back towards attack. Bouncing ball, skips over a few players. Golden Gate will get a kick away. Still it's loose. Rolls outside the 50. Handballed it away. Little toe poke from Marie Kringle. Near side, half forward. Picked up by Amanda Aitkins. They battle for it on the ground. It's locked up. And the umpire will call for the ball on the edge of 50, near side half forward. 2-point ball game with 11 minutes played in this first half.
And the ball will come back in. The ball will come up high in the air now. as umpire Lori Roop tosses it to the heavens. Beck versus Wynn. Wynn took a stab at it and fell in Henderson fashion. Here comes Nikki Fury, able to play it out to the far side, kept in by Ugalde, and then finally got out. Here comes Fury. Fury races but can't win it as the boundary line wins that race, and we'll have a boundary throw in. The Iron Maidens, founded in 2011, actually somewhere in that time, as part of the Sacramento setup, of course, the team that would eventually become the Suns, founded in part by Millie Bruce and Jess Estrada Finley, who are here, of course, cheering on their team to another title, but not if Kaya Saigor. Check that if Lindsey Beck has anything to say about it. She puts it through straight and majestic like a flatulent moth. Second goal of the game for Minnesota. They got a 2-2-14. A quick answer. The Iron Maidens won straight 6.
And just a well-struck kick, too. Able to find the ball in the empty space to work with. And Minnesota takes advantage. Those are the kind of goals that Golden Gate's going to want back.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, this is we talked earlier about the defensive side of things. It's going to be very difficult. I think Minnesota's speed, and we saw them exposed a little bit. I mean, by and large, we mentioned Lauren Dawes. She played so well in the back line. A couple of the other players that had played well, they really stepped up. As this one goes, it's going to be sent this one in. Here comes another one by Beck. The wind's going to take this one. It had the distance, but not the direction. And right now, Lindsey Beck is getting a case of leather poisoning. She pretty much has had just about every shot on goal so far. And on the Watch AFL scoreboard, that takes them on to 2-3-15 to 1 straight 6 here in the Division I Grand Final.
So Golden Gate trying to move forward. Stuck up on the far boundary line. Minnesota with a kick back towards the attacking end. Intercept mark taken. It looks like by number 6 of Golden Gate. Or the 6 at the front of the jumper. Couldn't catch the number on the other end. Picked up by Kaya Sagola. Handballed out wide. Sagola gets it back. Now delivers a kick to the edge of 50 and spots someone open. Mark taken, plays on, and gave it off to Catherine Hoa. But still the play continues.
Martin with a good intercept there, Pat, and Jerry Allen appealing for a free kick if she wasn't going to get it. And umpire Lori Roop, who is umpired more than a few of these matches across nationals and grand finals, of course, well-traveled in more ways, in terms of number of games, but also in terms of geographically. She has called games on, I think, 4 different continents. She'll probably correct me on that one as the ball goes down, as everybody goes down mushroom farming, and the ball squirts out, and we'll have a boundary throw in directly across from us. Minnesota 2-2-14. Golden Gate 1 straight 6. About 15 minutes to go, or rather 15 minutes gone unofficially in this first half. Remember, we're playing 2 20-minute halves, and if you're watching back home and are familiar with AFLW rules, we do not play with the last touch out of bounds, and we're also playing 18 aside. Here comes, that is Krengle, who sends that one in. It's just off to the left side and sneaks through for another behind. They're getting their chances with the win. Minnesota goes to 2-4-16. Golden Gate 1 straight 6. It's a 10-point difference, 16-6.
And 3/4 through this opening half. They're going to look up through that near side boundary again, Golden Gate are. Intercept mark taken by the Freeze. Now spun back inside 50. Diving mark and taken.
That's Lindsey Beck.
So Lindsey Beck with another opportunity to put a score up on the board. And a great effort by her. This will be about 30 meters out. Slight angle to deal with. And she puts it straight through the middle for the Minnesota Freeze's 3rd goal on the game. Brings it out to 3-4-22. Golden Gate 1 straight 6.
And the question has to be asked, Pat, we talked about the cricket score mentality of setting a target. what is a reasonable, I mean, this is definitely like a 2 or 3 goal breeze, which as we look at the flags across the way are definitely going across the way as Dan Sarbacker goes out to rescue one of the sheets of paper. Thanks, Dan. You have done yeoman work in more ways than one this weekend, buddy. Thank you so much. Yeah, that was a good hard ball get as the ball comes back in the middle once again. It will come back up to the far side. Lindsay Beck right now, the favorite, you would think, for the Jeff Can medal for best and fairest in the grand final. And the ball is wrapped up there by Nikki Fury as she was on the national team. In fact, it was pushed in the back. And they'll play on quickly. Fury going out, looking for Hillenbrand and finding Cordoba. Leilani Cordoba. Played with Boston, LA, and Sacramento. Big crash boom opera in there, but crumbing the pack and picking that one up was Hannah Dawes. But the wind, that was a wicked off break, and that one goes off into the corner. Play still continues. Going to be picked up. Centering ball. Going to drop in front. Again, looking in front, looking for Powell. Big bear hug thrown in there by Amanda Dvorak once again. They'll send it back from What's It Kane. It holds up in the wind, and the ball has gone out of bounds. Boundary throw-in. Still a 16-point lead for Minnesota. Waning moments as we have played 17.5 unofficially here in this first half of the Women's Division Grand Final.
There should be about a little less time than what is displayed on the clock, so around about 90 seconds to go in this first half. As everyone in the Cooper's Beer Tent can now hear us as we corrected the speaker problem. Spun back out.
We haven't figured out if that's a good thing or not yet, Pat.
Probably not a good thing.
Yeah. But then the question might be asked, why are you doing it? Because my mom says I'm cool. That's why. As the ball will come in, not much time remaining, as we mentioned, waning moments of this first half as the ball gets spun back into play, and it is marked and taken by Kaya Saigola. She has the football in her back left pocket. She's going to take as much of the 7 or 8 seconds as she is allowed before the umpire tells her to play on. As this one is dropped down in front, bounces away from Connor Lewis, and the ball goes out of bounds. Boundary throw in, wing position commentary side. Watch AFL scoreboard score check. Minnesota 3-4-22. Golden Gate 1 straight 6 here in the Women's Division Final. Brian Barish alongside Pat Machado here from Visit Austin at the Onion Creek Soccer Complex. Glad to have your company not only here at the ground in the Cooper's Beer Tent, but also around the world thanks to Gridiron Productions.
Dying seconds of this first half. Minnesota has to move quickly to make something out of this. Off the hands of a Golden Gate player. Spills to Catherine Hoa. Just out of the reach of Lauren Beck as Minnesota look to turn on the attack quick. Maybe 1 or 2 kicks left in this. Less than 30 seconds to go as Golden Gate spins it back the other way. And back and forth we go. This should take us to the end of the first half.
Well, not much time to go here as the ball gets up on the far side. Going to get knocked down there by Jessica Haas. She's going to turn around with it and kick it on the outside of the boot over on the intense side of the field because there are people over there intense. There is the siren, I believe, and that is that. Halftime in the Women's Division I Grand Final, the Minnesota Freeze looking for their first Grand Final, leading by 16 points. The score, it's the Minnesota Freeze 3-4-22, Golden Gate Iron Maidens 1 straight 6. Minnesota held the sway of play, but there were some good passages of play there by the Iron Maidens, perhaps a little bit unlucky with the win, that really gives you the sense that even though it's 3 kicks separating the teams, this game is not salted away by any stretch of the imagination.
Especially as the gusts have begun to pick up a little bit in the last couple of minutes. Minnesota set their target. It's 22 points. Golden Gate chasing 16. Is that enough?
Yes, and the question is, do you want to go with an off-spin break, or do you want to? No, I was going to say, if you're an American
That's
wondering
where
what
you
we're
lost
talking
me.
about, yes, sports. But I think the one thing about Minnesota that we'll really see here, I think it's going to come down to how their defensive players handle the next 20 minutes, and I think we're going to see more out of players like Lauren Ewell and out of Paige Kicker. Paige is very known for getting to the ball first and known for getting to being able to make some room. A lot of the times when you see her take marks, they're usually uncontested. So we'll see what happens here. We'll see how she plays the win, and we'll also see how Katie Klatt, the coach of the Golden Gate Iron Maidens, decides to go about this. They have the chance now. They did not enter this as the favorites. Let's be real clear. As we mentioned, Minnesota in the last 4 matchups of the 2 years, they have won. The Freeze have won 3 of the last 4. But you take the Iron Maidens for granted at your own peril. You know that Brent Fisher has not done that. You know that the Freeze have not done that. These next 20 minutes are going to be immensely exciting. While we're talking about the women's game, and before we go to break, I want to very quickly congratulate we'll just double check the grand finals from some of the other places around the country, and we definitely want to, or from around the grounds rather. And if it sounds like I'm stalling, I am. I'm just trying to bring up the final ladder in the women's Division II. Of course, that was a 5-team round-robin Division II, and it was, in fact, the Austin Crows women with a record of 4-0 that ended up winning the whole thing. Finishing second, how about this? The Calgary Kookaburras, alongside the Houston Lone Stars and the Baton Rouge Tigers. They end up finishing in second. What a great story for Baton Rouge, bringing 20 men to the Women's Division 5. They bring 4 to Women's Division 2. And, hey, they're going to go home with a medal. That's pretty awesome.
I teased it in one of the matches earlier when Austin was taking on Calgary. It's the Texas of Canada versus the Texas of Texas. Texas is winning big here at Nationals.
And we'll go into that a little bit more later. We're going to step aside, come right back with the second half of this one. Once again, Minnesota up 22-6. You're watching the 2024 USAFL National Championships. Thanks to Tasmanian here on USAFL.com.
The USAFL 2024 Nationals is brought to you by Tasmanian, the quiet pursuit of the extraordinary. Cooper's, Australian made and owned. Cooper's Beer. Visit Austin, live music capital of the world. Aussie Sports USA, the official apparel provider of the USAFL. Qantas Airlines, the spirit of Australia. The Australian Consulate General, Houston. Three Cuts Gin. Odin Mortgage and Tax. CyberSolve IQ, the inaugural cybersecurity partner of the USAFL. And by USAFL Foundation. Play on.
And we're back here for the second half. 2024 USAFL National Championships Women's Division I Grand Final. Minnesota leading Golden Gate 22-6, but it's the Golden Gate Iron Maidens in the silver and the blue and the orange, kicking to the right of screen to the Onion Creek end. That one is slapped down right in front, going to be picked up by Kaya Saigula, going for the freeze in the blue jumpers. Going to be sending this one down the ground, drops in front of Lindsay Beck, does a little patty cake going forward, bounces off of Alvy Doherty, going to go and picking that one up, slipping over, I believe that was Vicky Powell, and then banged forward, but only as far as Paige Kicker, and that's what we were talking about in the halftime break. Kicker will have the football in her center half back. She's going to send this one high and down the ground. Great job! What a fantastic mark by Marie Krengel, who rose high and was able to get good position. She has the football right in front of the Gridiron Productions commentary position. She sends the ball down now into the center half forward. Nice mark by Lindsay Beck. Beck is perhaps 2 kicks from goal, maybe 3 in this wind. She sets sail with a low driving kick. It drops in front of Daling. There to crumb it is Lauren Dawes, going and picking that one in, but it will be a free kick, and it will go the way of Caroline Sequeira and the Iron Maidens in their back left pocket, trailing by 16, about 90 seconds in.
Sequeira looks towards the middle of the ground. Here's Karina Boyle.
Ball comes up on the far side now as the ball backs in. Over to get it now, and spinning away is Hillenbrand, and the ball gets taken down, and we will have a ball up. Sorry about that. And down on the ground, it looks like a freeze player is down. How about now? Hey! All right. And just getting up, it looks like it's Corey Daling. So clock is stopped here. If you're watching at home, you see the superimposed clock, so we'll keep an eye on that. But Corey Daling, they are just checking her knee. I think there's been, as there is, and I know you've played sports before, Pat, you're in a contact sport. I think, we've had I've seen a couple of arms and slings. There's a couple of knees that perhaps have been done, but, it's a part of sports. Thankfully, we haven't seen anything too serious in our time here.
Bang, bang plays, everyone giving 100%, and some things like this are bound to happen.
All right, we are waiting now to restart play, and it will be a free kick to the Golden Gate Iron Maidens. They trail 22-6. They have won 7 national championships in a row. That's most of any by a men's or women's team. It skips through everybody. It's going to get picked up. Little shovel handball to Kicker. Great look. Left-footed kick. Juggled and taking the mark there, or just at least making the catch, was Beck. Lindsay Beck sends that one in, looking in the Allen direction. Got it on the second bite of the cherry. Gets away from Martin. Going to spray that one into the top of the goal square. It bats up. Able to get away from one defender. There's a massive humanity. Stabs it towards the goal and through for a behind. And the first score of this second half goes to the Minnesota Freeze. Watch AFL scoreboard. They go to 3-5-23. The lead is 17 points. Golden Gate 1 straight 6.
So with the time on for injury, we should be about 3 to 4 minutes played in the second half. One thing to note here, they will be taking a hydration break at the 10-minute mark of this half, with the temperature a very hot 97 degrees Fahrenheit. You can do that calculation in Celsius. I can't do it.
Well, that's about what a body temperature is, Pat. There's a chance for a goal. And another one. And Golden Gate, and Minnesota rather, has extended the lead. They go to 4-5-29. Golden Gate 1 straight 6. And another play in front by Lindsay Beck. And she really is putting the screws on this one and hoping that Minnesota can come home with their first D1 title.
That's massive for Minnesota, going against the wind. First major of the second half. Just adding to their lead.
And I'm curious to see now what does Katie Klatt do? What do the Iron Maidens do? I think they got to throw the magnets around here. I think they really have to throw caution to the wind. You know, Minnesota is really good. I think they have to figure out a way here, especially in this particular wind, and that one is taken by Sarah Maguillon. Maguillon on the far side now. She'll kick this one up. It will drop in front. It'll bounce away. Over to get it is Olaf. Now coming out of there like a house on fire was Sequeira again, up in the forward line. Dropped there by Saigula, who is taken down with a half Nelson, no call. And it is a rolling maul situation. High tackle, free kick, and it will go the way of Leilani Cordoba as Golden Gate tries to get an answer. They're going to need one quickly.
So this one's definitely going inside 50. Sends one into the pocket. Ball goes to ground, and it's over the line for a boundary throw, just inside the attacking 50 for Golden Gate. 23 points the margin, about 5 minutes played in this second half. Minnesota leads Golden Gate. Ball flung back into play. Congested along the ground. Players crash into each other. Free kick spotted. It's going the way of the Freeze.
And getting up is Kaya Saigula, who University of Michigan will play, or Minnesota rather, will play that one on the far side. Finds Kojo. Connor Joe Lewis. Both she, Kaya Saigula, and Lindsay Beck on the all tournament team for the Transatlantic Cup, and all three of them have had a mark on this passage. Beck looking around, going to send this one. She's got some options, going to send this one deep, getting knocked down. Going out the back again is Martin. She was bumped off the ball by Saigula. Over to get it is Gaillard. She was spun right round, baby, in dead or alive fashion. Now spinning that one and going back again was Haas. Now here comes Golden Gate up the far side. It's a worm-burning, finger-breaking, mongrel up-country punt. And don't mess that up or else Doran James will get mad. Over the far side now, and going to get it again is Kicker. One-on-one battle in there with the 43 that you see for Golden Gate. And the ball is, they are appealing for out of bounds. The ball still is in play, I believe. It is banged inside the 50-meter arc, but in fact it is gone out of bounds, and we'll see what the situation is here. I think this is going to be a free kick coming out, or unless they called it out of bounds first. Once again, just repeating what Pat said a while ago, in a couple of minutes they will take a hydration break because the temperature is above 95 degrees. It is 96 degrees by my watch at the moment. And talk about the wind. There's about a 10-mile-an-hour wind officially, 18 gust miles an hour. That was a push in the back. It's a free kick now. It's going to get taken there by Leilani Cordoba. Cordoba has the football. She waits. Little chip in, and it is almost taken off the blade of grass by Sequeira. Carroll going after the football.
Kojo with the mark for Minnesota. And they look to start it back up the field. Looking that far side wing once again. Picked up by a member of the Freeze. Going back towards the center of the ground. Was able to get a kick away. Still, it's loose and in dispute on the ground. Switching the play are the Golden Gate Iron Maidens. Shimmies, shakes, kicked in by Vicky Powell. Slapped towards the ground. Minnesota picks it up. Stuck on the near side, half forward. And for Golden Gate's attack.
High in the air, here is Georgiadis, who takes a nice defensive mark. And I'm not surprised that they've thrown her behind the ball, as she is usually in the midfield. But Brent Fisher at this point looking to put the cue in the rack and salt away the first national championship in D1 for the Minnesota Freeze. This was a kick went up on the left side. Ball will drop in front. Battered down now by Lauren Dawes, and the ball has gone out of bounds for a boundary throw-in. Again on the Watch AFL scoreboard, Minnesota 4-5-29, Golden Gate 1 straight 6, 23-point lead. About the halfway point of this first half, of the second half, beg your pardon. That is how far Minnesota is from lifting the trophy and ending the Golden Gate Iron Maidens dynasty. And the mark is taken up on the far side once again, this time in the back pocket by Sophie Pfluger.
Around about a minute to our hydration break as Pfluger puts it back into the corridor. Bouncing ball will be picked up by Golden Gate. Sent back inside the 50. Sitting under it was Sequeira. Ball overshot her. Now to the near side. Around about center field in front of the Gridiron Productions commentary booth. Special thanks to them for putting on the productions for all 5 fields this weekend. Back out into the center of the ground. Takes a bounce high up into the air. Ball in dispute. Tapped out to Doherty. And taken down. Umpire calls play on.
Back the other way now. This is Vicky Powell as Powell sends this one through into the pocket. Going after it is Olaf, trying to dig out the football. She is in a big old wrestling match over in the pocket, and it looks like we'll have a ball up as the ball was tied up in that pocket. Umpire Lori Roop crosses her arms, and I think this is where we're going to have our hydration break. So we're not done yet. We still have about 10 minutes to go in this ball game, and right now the Minnesota Freeze leading 4-5-29 to 1 straight 6. And Pat, you know, in one sense, this is a blessing, I think, for Golden Gate, because what it means is they can go back, Katie Klatt and the rest of the coaching staff, they can talk things over, the players can get a drink, they can reset, and this isn't the end of a quarter, I might add, because, and I can be corrected if I'm wrong, it will be restarted as if nothing happened. It's not like it will come back into the middle. So the Maidens, when we come out of the break, will have a chance inside their offensive 50. And what I think will be interesting to see is, will they make any changes in this hydration break? So it'll be as we said, they kind of have to throw caution to the wind here, to coin a phrase, so we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, it's a 4-kick ball game at this juncture. So,
yeah, I mean,
regardless of whether or not they change anything, if you're Minnesota, I don't think you do. So there's really not much to be gained throughout this hydration break other than the obvious benefit of hydrating in this heat.
I think if you're Brent Fisher, you basically say, you're doing great, keep it up, because they have not scored with the wind in this half.
Their defense has been absolutely stout.
And we mentioned Catherine Georgiadis going back there. Olaf Indrida-daughter is getting back there as well. But we mentioned Paige Kicker being the key cog, and that has done wonders. We're going to run through as they come out of the hydration break and take a look and tell you the winners very quickly. New York and Wasatch winning the men's Division 5 total. Denver and Golden Gate Reserves winning the Division 4 title. It was Calgary defeating Chicago to win the men's Division 3 title. Houston, in a great game that we saw just here, got by Seattle to win the Division 2 title. That is their highest title in their history. And in women's Division 2, it was Austin and Portland combining to take out the championship a little bit later on. Don't forget to join us at 4:15 Central Time to determine who will win the men's Division 1. Austin going for their 6th in a row and their 9th overall, a record-breaking performance if they can do it against the Denver Bulldogs as we resume.
So Minnesota threatening to score once again. One-on-one right in front of the goals. Good shepherd by the Iron Maiden to keep her from getting a good shot on goal as it crosses the line for a minor score. 4-6-30 are the Minnesota Freeze. 1 straight 6, Golden Gate. 24-point margin on the Watch AFL scoreboard. 9.5 to go in this second half.
And that, of course, is an unofficial clock. But you do have to say this, Pat. Remember, there is no time on. Every time they score, it's about 30 seconds or so to bring the ball back into play. So whatever time is left, you basically have to subtract 30 seconds or so for that to do that. So The Iron Maidens, perhaps the clock about to strike 12 on their 7-in-a-row dynasty. But my goodness, how impressive it's been. It will live on in lore as the ball is up on the far side now. Going after it again. Lindsay Beck trying to make a run. It goes by her. Going to be picked up by Doherty. Doing! Just getting falconed. She falconed one of her own teammates. In fact, we'll tell you who it is in just a moment. And here's a chance in front. There might be another one. And let me tell you, after that goal by Amanda Atkins, there may very well be a freeze in the atmosphere as Minnesota goes to 5-6-36. It's a 4-goal difference. Golden Gate 1 straight 6 as that ball off of Chelsea Bachland. Hopefully she's okay. That was kind of a wayward ball, but it bounced right to the freeze. Atkins picks it up and adds another one.
Opening up the lead to 30 points now, the Minnesota Freeze, with not that much time left on the clock, considering it takes about 30 seconds to get back into the center. That very well might be the dagger. Golden Gate has to come out of this center stoppage quick.
As the ball comes in the middle once again, here is Fury. They are not going to give up. This is a team that got to the top by fighting tooth and nail. They're going to do it until the clock reads all donuts. Ball goes in as Jessica Haas battles after the football. Big tackle in there, and the umpire says this will be a push in the back, and it will be a free kick going the other way now. And the Maidens, they need a goal here at the very least. Here is Caroline Sequeira, who has the football in the front pocket. She's going to wait for a lead. There's not much time left, so she's going to have to get something going. Sequeira waits. She will...
I think she just has to take a crack here.
Yep. She's going to send this one on away. It's going to have a good crack. She may have done it. No, it's just waiting. I think there may have been something away from that.
This is a big call.
The umpires are discussing. And we've got the Pope on standby. In fact, it is going to be a free kick. They are settling that up now. And here's another chance for a goal. And just sneaking it inside. There's not a lot of time left, but they're trying their best as Vicky Powell tries to pump up her team. Watch AFL scoreboard, 2 straight 12, Minnesota 5-6-36. If they're going to go down, they're going to go down fighting, but the clock might be against them.
They had to score on that possession, and they did. So the job is started, but they're going to need another one quickly like that.
And they're going to need to do it right down Broad Street, I think. They're going to have to do it quick, fast, and in a hurry.
So back into the middle. Around about 5 minutes left in this grand final. Can Golden Gate claw back into it? Ball in dispute in the center circle. Minnesota just looking to get time off the clock. Now they'll push it forward. Far side, half forward. Players clash together. Picked up by number 30 in Lindsay Beck. She's been all around the ball today. Delivers one to the forward pocket. Takes a couple bounces, and it'll roll over the line for a boundary throw.
That was Karina Boyle, by the way, who kicked the goal for the Iron Maidens and said, "Get around me, let's go." But the ball is about 150 meters from where they need to be, and Minnesota is circling for the dagger as we have a ball in that will occur about 15 meters around as the ball comes spinning back in the play. Goes off of several players. Going after it again is Maguillon. She's won a number of these national championships, and she has been out there as the ball has gone out of bounds, and it will be a free. Before that, however, it was a free kick. So it will go the way of Connor Jo Lewis. Lewis is going to take her full time, and I think she might have a crack here just for the sake of ebbing time away and bringing her team closer to the cup. As she winds up and sends that one, setting that one through and able to find a mark. It is Beck still waiting for the opportunity. And there's the dagger. And the Minnesota Freeze are now just mere minutes away from ending the Iron Maidens stranglehold on the championship and winning their first ever Division I national title. They go to 6-6-42. Golden Gate 2 straight 12. And, you know, we had been watching this team over the last couple of years. We've watched how much they've worked, not only during the season, but off of it. It's taken 3 years with this particular group, and it's going to bear fruit here in Texas.
Closer and closer they've inched. And now they can enjoy these next 3.5 minutes, knowing what's to come at the end of it. Golden Gate back into the center of the far wing. They're not giving up, that's for sure. A push in the back, potentially. That's what they want. We play on anyway. As it's locked up at the center of the ground on the far wing, holding the ball. It'll go the way of Golden Gate.
Iron Maidens will have the ball now. Here is Nikki Fury who has it. Plays it up on the far side through a hands. Umpire says play on. Going after it there is Nicole Murley for Minnesota. The Freeze under Brent Fisher have really transformed and transmogrified, and they have a 30-point lead in the grand final with unofficially about 90 seconds to 2 minutes to go.
Cordoba will have a free kick, will have a kick. Sending it to half forward, far side. Pack crashes down. Someone came up with it. It'll be a free kick the way of the Freeze. Just about 2 minutes to go in this one. And amazing defense from Minnesota in what was supposed to be the disadvantaged half for the Freeze will bear fruit, and it's going to lead to a title.
As the ball goes into the boundary, into the corner, going in front of Karina Boyle. She wins the football. She has not given up one iota. She handballs it. She handballs it out of bounds. Tick, tick, tick. The Minnesota Freeze are moving towards a Division I national title. It's been 11 years, since, or rather 15 years, since somebody other than Denver or Golden Gate has won the national championship. It's been that long since somebody outside of the Western region has won the national championship. The ball is on the far side now. Cannot be much time left. The ball goes up high in the air. Boy, they can taste it over on the Minnesota Freeze sideline. Fury is taken down by Catherine Georgiadis. She will get up with the football now, Will Fury. And it will be a free kick. No, it'll be a ball up. Check that. The ball goes in the air. Back against Wynn. Wynn wins the hit out. Knocks the ball forward. Going to go after it again. Stacks on the mill. Umpire says give it to me. Still 42-12 the score. Minnesota has been around in one form or another, the women's side, for more than a decade and a half. It is, I think of all the players who have been around all this time. Players like Georgiadis. Players like Ray Hale. Players like Bree Osthoff and Paige Kicker, and they are finally going to do it. My goodness gracious, what this has been as the ball, and I think of Lizzie Sawyer, who has moved on to the Wasatch War Goals, but who is still helped that team win the Western Regionals before, and whose heart is still in Minnesota. Here's a big hit now. Ball is on the far side. Umpire says, give me that, we'll have a ball in. The Freeze 42, the Iron Maidens 12. The ball comes spinning back into play. Ball goes to ground. Dog pile on the Rabbit. Going to get picked up. It squirts forward. Going to get picked up once again. And that is it. 10,000 Lakes. One national champion. The Minnesota Freeze. The 2024 USAFL Women's Division I national champions. This is the hard work of more than a decade by dozens of dedicated individuals, not just on the field but off of it. They fought, and on their third try, they finally climbed the mountain. The final score in the Women's Division I Grand Final, the Minnesota Freeze, 6 goals, 6 behinds, 42 points. The Golden Gate Iron Maidens, 2 straight 12. 7 wins in a row. You have to give your hats off. We mentioned mention all the players from Minnesota. I think of people like Millie Bruce and of Jess Estrada Finley and of a number of other players who have come through. Katie Klatt, who is over there as well. All of the players who have played over the years. Carly Smolak, who was their coach for a time, who helped lead this team to win 7 in a row. They have been amazing champions, but in the words of George Harrison, all things must pass. And on this day in Austin, Texas, October 13, 2024, a new champion arises.
And the Freeze had a game plan coming into this and executed it to perfection.
And really, it was two players, as much as it was a team victory, Pat, two players really stood out for me. One, of course, was Lindsey Beck in the first half. She was all over that forward line. She had so many touches, especially in the second half, kicking the goal against the wind and really just putting the dagger in and salting the game away. But more importantly on defense, going against the wind was Paige Kicker. We said it at the halftime. She has done so well on the national team front. She is a fantastic defender, and now she finally wins a national championship. I mentioned some of the other players, but also some of the players they had right before COVID who are part of this new group. Saigula, Connor Joe Lewis, who also played a fantastic game today. So many of these players, Sophie Pfluger, who made the national team. It was amazing run by them. It's congratulations to both sides on a well-found championship. And by the way, I want to clarify something because Cat Hog is blowing up my phone. Denver was not in the Central region when they won those national championships, when they won them. So it's the first time a central regional team has won since Milwaukee in 2009.
So do you want to go offense or defense for the best and fairest? Because if you're asking me, I think you have to give it to Lindsey Beck.
I think that's the case. I mean, she really was all over the field. Of course, the officials will determine who wins the Jeff Can medal for best and fairest. But if it were up to me, I think that would be, what would you say?
I'm going Beck.
Yeah, I think that would be good. Well, listen, she was best and fairest. She won the Paul Roosevelt, the best and fairest medal last year, and she won best and fairest at the Super Regionals, and then came back with it as well as in the Western Regionals as well. Pat Machado, we have seen history in the making here. I want to thank you. I appreciate you taking some time off of your busy schedule to come and join us. Thank you for helping out. Great call today. Great calling with you as always. I know we'll see you down the line, and go Flyers.
Go
Islanders fan. Yes, go Philly. Yeah. Thank you so much, mate. I'll shake your hand. Thank you so much.
Been an absolute pleasure. Have to carve time out for it every single year. I kind of messed up a little bit scheduling the Saturday because I wasn't thinking, but this is one of my favorite events of the year. It's good to get out of the truck and do some play-by-play again in what was probably my new favorite found sport.
Yeah.
And what a better way to experience it than giving it a crack at calling.
The Minnesota Freeze are the national champions in Women's Division I. Congratulations to them. We are not done. Did you think we were done? We're not done. We've got the Men's Division I once again. It's the Austin Crows looking for their record-breaking ninth title, taking on the Denver Bulldogs, looking to stop them from getting it by winning their ninth title. Bill Robert will join. Go ahead.
The past versus the present, and it's all coming to a crescendo. Will the record stand or will it fall?
The question will be answered in just a few minutes. 4:15 or thereabout U.S. Central Time. Bill Robert will join me in the commentary position. But for now, we'll be right back for that one. You're watching the 2024 USAFL National Championships brought to you by Tasmanian here on USAFL.com.
The USAFL 2024 Nationals is brought to you by Tasmanian, the quiet pursuit of the extraordinary. Coopers, Australian made and owned, Cooper's Beer. Visit Austin, live music capital of the world. Aussie Sports USA, the official apparel provider of the USAFL. Qantas Airlines, the spirit of Australia. The Australian Consulate General, Houston. Three Cuts Gin. Odin Mortgage and Tax. CyberSolve IQ, the inaugural cybersecurity partner of the USAFL. And by USAFL Foundation. Play on!